And let's see if we can bring all of our attention together. Let's bring all of our hearts together. Let's bring all of our hands together. Let's feel the widest picture. First, let's feel corona. You notice we've forgotten that there was a coronavirus almost, but across the world, there are corona outbreaks. There are in many states in the United States, the highest numbers we've seen so far. People are out of breath in this moment, and because they're out of social media feeds, doesn't mean they're out of our field of attention. And it's one of the first pointing outs I want to just offer as we start. We actually hold our field of attention beyond social media feeds. No video that I saw on Twitter or no video that I didn't see can actually form my understanding of any situation. That's unbelievably important. And as in order to create the next stage in the evolution of love, I can't be determined by social media feeds. I can't be determined by Twitter mobs descending on me, whether on the left or on the right. I can't be determined by Trumpian Twitter mobs, nor can I be determined by woke police demanding their Stalinist confessions. And I have to virtue signal in order to survive. We got to be able to actually do sense making. Does everyone feel that? We got to be able to have a conversation. Conversation is the single most important tool that we have. The single most important, and in the original Hebrew, the word for Messiah, right, which is the vision of a better world, the vision of a deeper world, right, is conversation. Mashiach, Messiah, in Hebrew means siach, conversation. Now let's see if we can feel this for a second, okay? Right, let's feel each other. Life is a series of conversations. Does everyone get that? Life is a series of conversations. That's what it is. That's been true from the beginning. And in the human being, the conversations that began between subatomic particles who came together, who placed attention on each other and formed a larger whole, those conversations now become conscious, they become awake, they become alive. And in conversation, and stay with me, let's feel each other, let's hold hands. In conversation, our baseline has to be facts. Barack Obama, in his closing talk before he left the presidency, said correctly that if we lose the baseline of fact in conversation, we've lost everything. We have to be able to have a conversation. We have to be able to check facts. And there's got to be a shared ground of facts beyond narrative. Does everyone get that? It's super important. The post-truth world, which the Oxford Dictionary suggested when it made post-truth the word of the year in 2016, that world is not okay. We've got to move post the post-truth world, right? We've got to have a shared truth. We've got to actually understand that we can have many paths, but there's one mountain. And at the center of that mountain, there's a set of facts. You can't say anything or everything. You can't let feeling by itself, especially when it's surface feeling. It's feeling provoked by social media feeds. It's feeling that didn't go through the prism of self-reflection, the prism of information gathering, the prism of being intimate with reality. What facts mean is that we're intimate with reality. We've gathered through the different tools of the eye of the spirit and the eye of the senses and the eye of the mind. We've gathered most intimately. We've touched as much as reality as we can. And then we've brought it together, and then we felt. Then we've actually entered into the depth of our feeling. but to actually enter into the depth of my feeling based on a Twitter feed, not based on a wider collection and integration of facts that then can be interpreted, of course. Then we can try and understand them. But we've got to start with a baseline of facts, because without that, we can't have a conversation. And I was talking to someone this week, and I send them a notice, right, of a set of facts that disagreed with the way they were thinking about things. And they said, I can't listen to that. I just turned it off. I won't be in that conversation. No, that's the second we go there, that's the end. We've always got to stay in conversation with each other. And the conversation's always got to be face to face. And we got to be looking in each other's eyes and always be willing to go deep into that conversation and talk about all the things that can't be talked about. Now, there's a right time and there's a right place for a conversation. So you don't go to your friend's funeral and have the conversation about some of the complexities of his life, because at his funeral is the time to celebrate him and to celebrate the beauty that he brought to the world, right? This week was George Floyd's funeral, right? This is a week to celebrate George Floyd. And this is a week to celebrate, right, the movement that's been taken in the world in the last 3 weeks against injustice. There's been a movement forward in the evolution of love. We've placed our attention on injustice. And when we place our attention on something, there's opportunity. What I see in these 3 weeks, when I look at these 3 weeks, I see attention. Attention's been placed in a particular direction, and therefore there's an opening, there's an opportunity, because we bloom each other with attention. Attention opens up reality, and we'll talk about that more later today. All of attachment theory is about the quality of attention the mother places on her child. Right? When we love each other, we place our attention on each other. We've placed our attention on injustice, and attention is creative. Attention is inseparable from intimacy. So we've placed our creative attention on injustice so that evolution can turn its wheel, and we can actually stand in a world in which gradually and then immediately, and we move beyond gradual, and we make the radical demand that everyone's in the circle. And I want to say clearly, America is a great country. We don't need to make America great again. America's a great country. I'm proud of being American. I'm proud of America's commitment. Slow, halting, and hard, because the world in the mid-19th century was ethnocentric. The world was filled with slavery in the mid-19th century. And America fought a civil war. And the primary issue when you study the war was slavery, right? And, right, millions of whites in the North, white males, died to eradicate slavery. Wow. Right, to proclaim emancipation. And yes, it's absolutely true. Then there was Jim Crow, and then there was voter suppression, right? And then there was redlining. And there's not yet equal opportunity in America. And America has made enormous progress. Barack Obama talks about the greatness of America, right, as the highest of who we are, that we're aspiring with all our might, with all our soul, with all our dignity, with all our desire, with all our passion to realize. Yes, so America's a great country. America's invested more in aid to the poor around the world. America's invested more in healing, right, feminine pain around the world than any other country in the world. America's poured its resource and poured its blood, right, into standing for a good world. America is wildly imperfect. And we need to stand for everything that needs to be made better and needs to be transformed. But we need to stand for it within the context of recognizing the greatness of this dream that is the United States. And I pledge allegiance to the flag. Right? I sing of the greatness of this country. And I trust our ability to have a conversation. And I trust our ability to deepen. And so the great movement of these weeks towards placing our attention again on injustice is gorgeous and holy. And as we set our intention, there's also a great potential tragedy in these 3 weeks, which is you can feel the polarization deepening. You can feel the polarization deepening. Does everyone feel what I'm saying? Who can feel that? Who can feel it? Say yes if you feel it in the chat box. Say yes. Who can feel that? Who can feel that? Can you feel that? You can feel the inability around the world to have a conversation deepening. And that's not okay. And we've got to actually, in this moment here, right, as erotic mystics, as evolutionary mystics, as activists, we have to say yes to conversation, yes to persuading each other, yes to being impacted by each other, yes to apologizing when we're wrong, to looking at each other in the eyes and say, wow, you were completely right about that. I was completely wrong. Yes, because it's our ability to have a conversation, which is a tool that never existed in history. The ability to have a conversation itself is a great evolution of culture and consciousness. It's the most important tool we have for the healing and transformation of reality. And we can never step away from that conversation. We can never step away. There was a piece in the New York Times which made me shiver, and not in a good way, in which the writer said, we're at the end of the old journalism where we tried to look at all sides of the issue. And we're now at the place where once there's moral clarity, then writing all journalism has to support that moral clarity. But of course, who decides when there's moral clarity? We got to also be able to hold moral complexity, right? We've got to be able to hold the paradox. We have to hold competing perspectives and not make them all equal. Let me be really clear about that. Not all perspectives are equal. There's a hierarchy of perspectives, right? The more facts you gather, the more information you gather, the more you feel deeply after gathering facts, the more your perspective may well win over other perspectives. Not all perspectives are equal. Some things are more true than other things, right? Some values are better than other values. That's unbelievably important. We live in a world in which value is real. It's not contrived. It's not a social construction. There's truly good, and there's truly beautiful, and there's truly truth. And we actually can get to a shared understanding. We can get to a shared narrative in which there's great diversity. There's many voices, there's many paths, but there's one mountain. We all agreed when we saw the video of George Floyd, we all agreed that was a heinous crime. And justice spoke. And the person responsible for that crime was charged with second-degree murder. Actually, something worked. It's important. And many times things didn't work. And the video, right, is part of what made things work in that moment. And that's important. But friends, the second we stop being able to have a conversation and to feel each other and to hear each other, we've placed something essential outside of the circle, which is our very humanity. So, oh my God. And in coming weeks, we're going to talk more deeply about what facts need to be brought into the conversation that are missing and what perspectives, right, need to be checked. Right? And how do we actually come to this place where actually there's a set of first principles? And here's the last point in setting attention. It's only when we have a shared set of first principles that we actually hold together that we're able then from that place of a common shared narrative, a shared global set of values, right? A global ethos for a global civilization, right? Once we have a global ethos for a global civilization, then we're able to bring all the facts to the table. But when we don't have, stay with me close. Is that okay, friends? If I ask that, is that okay? Right, stay super close. When we don't have a shared set of values, right? A shared set of values, the irreducible dignity of unique self, the irreducible dignity of facts. Reality is an intimate universe in which love is not weak, love is strong, right? And love is that which binds us and unites us. and that we're all unique configurations of outrageous love. And that actually evolution is going somewhere. There's an evolution of love, and we're part of that story. And each of us has a unique joy and a unique obligation and a unique gift to give. See, when there's not a shared set of first principles, and let me add, we need both first principles and first practices. We can't just have principles, we have to be practicing. We need first principles and first practices. We need to be holding those principles and practicing them together and recognizing them in our awareness every single day. So there's a shared world spirituality, right? There's a shared narrative. There's a shared story. See, once there's a shared story, then I don't need to hold on to my set of facts desperately, because my very identity, my very sense of having a narrative and having a story is based on my set of facts around a particular issue. Does everyone get that dynamic? Right? If I don't have a shared story, if I don't have a dharma that's larger than a social media feed, that's rooted in eternity, that's rooted in the good, the true, and the beautiful, that's rooted in the reality of value, and knowing that actually reality generates value and there's an evolution of value, but that value is real. It's not a social construction. And we all knew that when we saw the video of George Floyd. We all knew, wow, the goddess has been violated. We all knew that the knee of on love was on the neck of truth and on the neck of goodness, on the neck of beauty. And we cried out. And it's good that we cried out, and we should continue crying out against every injustice. And no one's left outside of the circle. Injustice to every Black male must be cried out. And injustice to every Black female must be cried out. And injustice to every brown male must be cried out, or to every brown female. And injustice to every white male and to every white female. There's no one outside the circle. There's no one outside the circle. There can't be. That's what Martin Luther King believed in. And I stand with Martin Luther King. He believed that we want to go to a post-racial world, right? And in a post-racial world, it's about the content of your character, not the color of your skin, right? Someone said this week that the color of your skin should be like the color of your hair, right? Ultimately, it shouldn't matter in any essential way, right? We're not doing identity politics, right? It's not about blood, right? My Jewish blood, right, can't matter in an essential way if it alienates me from being part of the human race, right? We're human beings together. And then human beings need to be ultimately part of life together and part of the greater life systems. But let's start as human beings, self-reflective human beings who care and can feel each other and can hold each other and can touch each other. And then we include animals, right? We include, right, animals that we're cruel to in wet markets of China that cause pandemics, right? And we include all of life, right? Can everyone feel that? That's where we got to go. That's where we got to go, my friends. And we got to be courageous about it. And we can't let fear, we can't let virtue signaling actually take over genuine virtue. And genuine virtue means we gather facts, we gather information, and we're lifting weights, right? Actually doing work around information ecology requires you to stress your system. If you think you're absolutely clear about something, challenge yourself. Look at the other side. Hold the other side. Stop demonizing the other side, right? We got to be really careful. Got to be really careful. Okay, wow. That's a big moment. Amor. Its insides are lined with love. Okay? Its insides are lined with love. That's the true nature of reality. Reality is a love story, and it's filled with agony, and it's filled with ecstasy. And everyone matters, and everything matters, and no one's outside the circle. So today, in one church, many paths, one mountain, we've been committed to sense making every week. Today, we're going to commit to filling up. We're going to fill up with the full joy of who we are, because we need that joy to be creative. We need that joy to gather information. We need that joy to stand for justice every place in the world. How many people know that today in the world, not in the mid-19th century, that today in the world, there are approximately 35 million slaves. Wow. One church, many paths, one mountain, right? We are committed to liberating those slaves. We're committed to liberating the sexual slaves all over the world. We're committing to liberating the labor slaves that are literally labor slaves today all over the world. We're committed to liberating slavery wherever it exists. We're committed to the full dignity and gorgeousness and beauty of every single human being. We're committed to race being hair color, right? Meaning we don't even notice, right? Black is beautiful and white's beautiful and red's beautiful and brown's beautiful, but it's your character that's beautiful, right? Your character, my character, our character together. We can always have a conversation, and let's blow it open today. Let's blow it open with joy. Let's blow it open with fullness. Yeah, we live in a world of outrageous pain. That is absolutely true. But we know that the only response to outrageous pain is outrageous love. And outrageous love is based on outrageous information, right? I go inside and I form myself based on the best available set of facts and knowings that my feelings can then hold, and then I can feel it all. And there's a time and a place for everything, said Ecclesiastes Solomon. Right? So this week's not time to go into all the facts. And there'll be a time next week and the week after. But for now, let's step inside and let's be outrageous lovers all the way. And this week, I want to invite everyone, challenge yourself with new information. Go find all the data is available. Check things yourself. Be curious. Be open. If there's a dominant narrative flooding culture, which you're not allowed to speak against, be suspicious of that. Go deeper, right? Find a deeper truth.